Hello, welcome to the Beard Out Podcast. Podcast where we talk about the two greatest things in the world, beer and Weird Al Yankovic. My Aunt Lala and my dad are the hosts of the show. Thanks for listening to the Beard Out Podcast, part of the OddPods Media Network. Stay weird and enjoy the show.
This is Beer in Front. Every week I'll talk about a beer that maybe we've forgotten along the way while we get those check-ins and badges. Being the Chicago beer guy, I'll also talk about great craft beer in the city of Chicago. And remember, sometimes the beer in front of you is the best one yet. That's Beer in Front, part of the OddPods Media Network.
Can you imagine? All right, here we go.
Well, hey, how are you doing? Have a seat. Have a drink. Boy, I can glad to see ya. Want to come and say? Where's Lala?
One of the great joys of my life is watching people jam out to that theme song before we start this show.
It's pretty damn catchy.
It's catchy, right? Before I get too far into anything, welcome to this is like a epically special bonus episode of the Beard Out Podcast, because it's not even Friday when we're dropping this. It's the tail end of Thanksgiving weekend when people are listening to this. We're stuffing this weekend with Weird Al content, and we're talking about the Weird Al movie. No, not that one.
UHF?
No, not that
the
one.
The complete Al?
No, not that one.
You can't go home again?
Nope, not that one.
Naked Gun?
Oh, there's too many. We could do that forever.
I wrote a piece about this, and I saw that, and I could be wrong about this, but Al has 189 acting credits and 224 credits as himself.
That's amazing.
So you're talking about over 400 non-musical credits. Super musical credits, because I'm sure music was involved.
I love it. Yeah. So, no, we're talking about the soccer football movie that debuted recently on Netflix. And I am here with, I think, the only person that I feel is even at the right level to talk about the soccer football movie. I have, as I have said before, I have our preeminent Weird Al scholar, Nathan Rabin, back on the show. Hello, how are you?
Thank you. It's an honor to be here. But I'd like to thank you chose me because I know so much about football, which I believe you Americans call soccer. A bunch of Philistines you are.
Oh, yeah, we are.
We do not appreciate Flatan.
No, we don't. I didn't even know that was a real person until I watched this movie.
Not only is he a real person, but I looked him up on Wikipedia for like his other credits, and one of which was a biopic about his life.
Sure.
So he has reached the level of stardom that they're making movies about, like when he was a teenager.
Okay, that's beautiful. Yeah.
Weirdly enough, that also goes into detail about his talking sentient ponytail.
Oh my God.
That was a real thing. That genuinely happened. It's not unlike the Weird Al Yankovic story. This is 100% factual.
Yeah, very
everything about it is absolutely factual.
Yeah. Oh my God. So before we get too far into it, because like I could tell we are both chomping at the bit to talk about this fever dream of a film. I have to make sure at the beginning, because you just keep churning out this fabulous Weird Al content for
Oh,
us, and
thank
like
you.
my bookshelf is sagging under the weight of the tomes that you have created about Weird Al. So please enlighten this very interested fan base about what you have to offer us.
Sure, sure, sure. I guess it goes back to when I was 8 years old, in the year 1984, and I got my first albums. I got an album called Thriller, by a guy who honestly has ripped off Al.
Mhm.
His biggest hit, basically. I'm a little. You might know him as that has been, from the Jackson Five, and then I got Motown, and then I got Huey Lewis, and then I got Weird Al Yankovic in 3D. And that was very exciting. And I would listen to the Dr. Demento show, and I would listen to the Top 40 with Casey Kasem. And I would record it, and I would make my own versions of it with my sister, who now has absolutely no interest in this kind of tomfoolery. And then I grew up to be, I wrote for the AV Club, which was the Onion's entertainment section. And I remember meeting Weird Al for the first time in 1999, I guess it must have been the Running with Scissors tour. And yeah, he was a big fan of The Onion, which is one of the reasons why he chose me to write his coffee table book,
Yes.
Weird Al the book. And it's weird he read my book, The Big Rewind, which I'm excited. I'm proud of it or whatever. But there's a lot of sex and a lot of, well, not a lot of sex. There is sex and drugs and profanity and bad behavior, and insanity, and the kind of thing you wouldn't necessarily want your childhood hero to know or understand or read about. But he did, and he liked it so much that he said, he sent me a Twitter message saying, of all the writers in the world, I have chosen you to tell my story. So that was a completely surreal experience, and I worked very extensively with John Bermuda Schwartz, probably more so than with Al, because Bermuda, as I call him.
Yes.
He's an archivist, and he's his historian, and he's his webmaster, and he does it all. And he's also a fantastic drummer, and a very funny guy in his own right. And he has a book that comes out today. And I'm going to be so gracious. I'm going to plug somebody else's book.
Yeah.
Lights, Camera, Accordion by John Bermuda Schwartz. Yeah, it's fantastic. And I'm pleased that working with me did not put him off the books altogether.
It
I'm
may
glad it
have
wasn't
made
too
him do it
traumatic.
more.
Possibly, because both of us, we've just never stopped writing books about Weird Al since then.
No.
And yeah, I followed that up with 2020's the Weird Accordion to Al, which was followed by the Weird Accordion to Al Ridiculously Self-Indulgent, Ill-Advised Vanity Edition. I love that I've written books with such ponderous titles that
Yeah.
even I can't get them straight. And I'm like, who wrote this crap? And it's funny, actually, there was and then I wrote, then I wrote the captions for a coloring book called The Weird A Coloring to Al, which was then
Yeah, you do.
expanded into a hardcover, full color colored in version, because who on earth wouldn't want a coloring book that's already colored in and that you have to spend a great deal of money in order to buy. And then we decided to make it a trilogy, and we just put out the Weird A Coloring to Al Cynical Movie Cash In Extended Edition, which I'm very, very excited about. And then I think we're going to make an extended version of the, and you're hearing this, you're the very first person. You have what in Comedy Bang Bang would call a exclusive. I think we're going to add the chapter, the very, very long 5,000 word chapter on Weird, the Al Yankovic story 2, the Weird Accordion to Al extended edition, so that my 500 page book about Weird Al Yankovic will now be substantially longer.
Great.
Because again, I spent like a week watching the movie over and over and over again, and then writing and writing and rewriting, and then yeah, I sent it to Al, and I said, "Hey, please be proud of me, person whose approval and validation I desperately seek every moment of every single day."
Yeah.
And he quite liked it. He retweeted, and he only gave me 2 or 3 places where I made grammatical errors.
Only 2 or 3?
No, I'm so very well. He said I didn't do like a proper copy edit for it, but I noticed these three things, which I appreciate because he copy edited the weird accordion to Al. And the weird according to Al, ridiculously self-indulgent, ill-advised vanity edition. So I kind of feel like I've done so much work on this one piece and so much copy editing that I just want to share with the world. And I also I love the movie so much, and I
Yeah.
just love that it's the biggest thing he's done, other than the big concerts, sort of since Comedy Bang Bang in 2016, and then going by that, Mandatory Fun. So I feel like this is this huge thing for him, and it's such a wonderful gift to the world and a gift to all of his friends. And then he also made this weird, random, incredibly non-important movie at the same time, the soccer football movie. And I remember thinking, like, okay, he's got a cameo like those other 400 things that he's in. But no, he's the goddamn star of this movie.
I know. Okay. Like, first of all, number one, I think
Yes.
you probably need to hold off on making the extended version of the weird accordion to Al before you write another 5,000 words about this movie.
That is true. I feel like this isn't quite as personal.
I know.
As the other one there. But I talked about this in the piece itself. But one of the, I loved Reggie Watts on Comedy Bang Bang. And it was really cool that Al did a cover of these songs, kind of an homage that he did an amazing job. But one of the things he said was that he would never actually watch Comedy Bang Bang, that he wanted to like have it be a surprise. So like 10 years later, he'd just like be flipping through the TV and be like, oh my God, I'm on this and it's so crazy. And I like to think the same thing with Al, that like 15 years from now, he'll just like be flipping through the channels and he's like, I'm in this and I'm a mutant and it's about soccer and it's Space Jam. Like I vaguely remember making this, but I guess that's like been writing for 25 years and I don't remember 90% of what I do. Like I'm genuinely shocked because I'll be like, wow, that movie sounds crazy. I wonder what it's like. And then I'll go Google it and my review will be the first thing. So I can only imagine of the 400 movies that TV shows that Al has appeared in that are not at UHF or Weird the Al Yankovic movie. I'm guessing he forgets about a lot of it.
Oh, I'm sure. And the timing of this is just so absolutely insane. I had no idea that the soccer football movie was happening. And then I saw Weird Al tweet, oh, you thought I was just only doing one movie? Well, here's another one. And I was like, oh my God, okay, what is this? And so I put it on and I'm like, what is happening here? And I knew something was up, like right from the beginning when Weird Al had like pointy shoes on. And I was like, those are villain shoes. This is weird. And I texted my brother before anything like really weird or mutant happened. And I was
Right.
I'm watching this movie and I think Weird Al is a villain and I don't know how to feel about this. And he's like, what movie are you watching? And I was like, the soccer football movie. He goes, where is that? And so I had to explain the whole thing to him. I was like, it's on Netflix, like, whatever, blah, 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 blah. And so then the movie itself felt a little slow to me at the beginning. I was like, where is this going? How do any of these pieces fit together? But then when you get to the point when the ponytail gains dimensions, that's when, for me, I was like, oh, this is really weird and it's not supposed to make sense. And I just kind of let go trying to put any pieces together in my brain at that point and just enjoyed it. And holy moly, I like simultaneously was like, this is the weirdest thing I've ever seen. And also I love it.
Yeah, and it's funny. So I watched it, and again, I'm like, I was not entirely sober
No.
when I watched it. And again, I feel like sort of the people who will enjoy this movie are small children, people who love soccer, people who love Weird Al, and people who are extremely inebriated,
Yeah.
or are extremely stoned, because this is like a crazy head film, and I like that it's basically like Space Jam on acid.
Yeah.
It's just this freewheeling, psychedelic, nutty It's a crazy movie. It's very, very weird, and I love that Weird Al has such a huge role in it. And I love also that it's so short. I feel like if this was a 2-hour long movie, this would be a whole different endeavor. But the fact that it's barely an hour,
Yeah,
I think adds to its oddball charm.
for sure. For sure. And actually, speaking of being not entirely sober, since this is the Beard Owl podcast, I do need to mention that I am having the Maximus Colossal IPA from Lagunitas, which is the same beer I had in our Day After Thanksgiving episode. And I figured I'm just going to ride this beer out through the weekend because I felt like while this movie was short, its weirdness was colossal.
It really, really was. Yeah. And as I was kind of like looking into this, and the guy who wrote it also was one of the people behind the Cuphead show.
Okay.
Which people really, really dig. So he's got kind of like a funky, irreverent sort of sensibility. And apparently the way this worked is that it was, he like signed on for Netflix, and it was going to be a television show. It was going to be a soccer-based television show with a completely different set of soccer stars and a different villain.
Uh-huh.
And then that kind of like got canceled at the last minute. And they're like, okay, this is a movie now. Vladan and Megan Rapinoe and Weird Al are your stars. So it's going to be a feature film now, like Citizen Kane or Dumbo or Fantasia, but a little bit trippier. And you kind of get the sense of like, I don't know what's going on here, but I'm going to make it as crazy and weird and distinctive as possible, while also being incredibly derivative of a series of very popular intellectual property, such as the aforementioned Space Jam and also Ghostbusters,
Yeah.
and the Incredible Hulk, and the direct. I mean, I was messaging this, but like I looked up the director, and he was an animator on Space Jam. And then he was like a character designer on like 5 different Incredible Hulk direct-to-video movies. So he was very into self-cannibalizing all of his previous triumphs for this motion picture.
It's ridiculous. It's crazy. And oh my God. How is the best way for me to put this? And it's because like literally like what you just said, it's because it's so derivative of so many things. While it was like a really weird head trip because of all of that, it felt comfortable in its way because it's like, oh, I'm familiar with all of what is happening here. You've got the Whoopee gang, kids with the whoopee cushion. Like first of all, how that doesn't make any sense to me. And how is Weird Al both like he's a super villain, like a surgeon and the mayor. He's everything to this town, and he still manages to find time to be there at the opening ceremony of a spatula store, which I thought was great.
Yeah.
The people in the crowd are like, spatulas, we love spatulas. And I was like, oh, I paused and rewound that scene a couple of times, hoping that somebody shouted Spatula City in the background. Nobody did.
But again, I enjoyed that there are only a couple of references to Weird Al's real life when he's not a geneticist. But again, I like how he just kind of introduces himself by saying, hey, I'm the bad guy. I'm the villain. And he's like, wait, are you some sort of geneticist? Are you some sort of super scientist? And Weird Al says, could I have written, I think I'm a clone now if I were not a geneticist? Which again is a line that I love. Again, there are just lines that I love, like that Weird Al gifts soccer balls with an evil brain slug inside them to the top soccer stars in the world, who are Vladan, who I guess is like the Michael Jordan of soccer, and then
Sure.
Megan Rapinoe, who is an American icon and a very attractive woman, I have to say, in her tight soccer clothing. And I love that their response to getting the soccer ball of doom with the brain slug inside of it was, oh, a soccer ball, I already have one of these.
Yeah, that's so funny. That's
again,
so
I just love
funny.
the idea. Again, it's sort of giving Michael Jordan a basketball. It's like, I have several of these. I don't
have
really
so
need a
many.
basketball. Kind of synonymous with it. So, do you want to explain the very the Robert Town like screenplay and very sophisticated premise of this singular motion picture?
Yeah. So what we start out at a soccer match. I love the announcer, by the
Rob
way.
Stone.
How he's like soccer, but football, soccer, whatever you call it, like blah blah
Yeah.
blah blah. He's great. And so we started a soccer match, and the match ends. Weird Al is there talking with the announcer, and
Noted sports super fan, Weird Al Yankovic.
and he did. But I tried so hard to remember what it was, but Weird Al was asked who he thought was going to be the all-star of all stars of all time, all stars of all time.
I think that's it. I think there might have been a couple of more all-stars and times thrown in there.
I mean, we're close enough for government work here with that. And and he's like, well, how are you going to do that? And he's going to do it with this incredibly evil plan to send these talent sucking glowing green slug things to famous soccer athletes to steal their talent, because he's found a way to make talent tangible, and he can, which I love that. That's great. And then what happens is these slug things latch on to the talented person and turn them into this big green Hulk-like mutant. And I don't understand why that happens. If you're sucking their talent, why does it turn them into a mutant? Like, I didn't get that, but I was like, all right, roll with it, whatever.
Well, I get it. I think part of it is that they're very, very shameless about how derivative they are. And the plot literally is the exact same plot as Space Jam.
Yeah.
Except that in Space Jam, it's Moron Mountain, and Danny DeVito is the one who's doing it. And I think that was one of the things that's kind of fascinating about this is, I grew up in Chicago in the 1980s, so Michael Jordan was a god to me. Michael Jordan was the most famous person in the world. Everybody in the world knew Michael Jordan. I felt like Michael Jordan and Michael Jackson. Those were the two biggest icons of my childhood. So it's interesting for me to see a movie with Zlatan, who is somebody I have no effing idea who he is. I mean, I know who Megan Rapinoe is because they won the
World
like
Cup?
such an ignoramus here. They won the
thing with
gold
the soccer.
medal or the World Cup. They won the big thing. Everybody was dancing, and people liked soccer very briefly. And that's the other thing that was kind of fascinating to me was I thought this would be like a Brazilian movie. I thought they're not going to make a soccer movie in the United States because nobody likes soccer here. But it is an American movie, as evidenced by the fact that it's called the soccer football movie, which is very confusing and very weird. And it feels like somebody lost an argument and that this was like their unhappy compromise.
We call it both. Why not? We call it both. Yeah. So then there's this ragtag group of kids with hearts of gold.
Are they teenagers?
Are they homeless?
It's very confusing. And again, I love how shameless their backstory is, where they say, Zlatan, we're 4 young people who love soccer. We love playing soccer. We all became exterminators in order to save enough money to buy a ticket to the big soccer match. This will come in very useful very shortly. But it's like, oh, I am so charmed by you young people. You can have my tickets. Hey, oh, look, here's a package. Nothing bad will happen to me now.
Oh, little slug friend, where are you,
hey,
little slug
sluggy,
friend?
slug. And then again, I love the fact that did you see who the voice of the slugs in the ponytail were?
It was like so familiar, but no, not offhand.
Tom Kenny.
Oh my God!
SpongeBob SquarePants was the voice of the slugs, and he was the voice of the ponytail. So he is a very, and I'm guessing that him and Al are probably friends. I feel like he's one of those guys where you're like surprised to not see him, and we're the Al Yankovic story.
That tracks. Maybe because he was too busy doing the soccer football movie.
Well, and part of it also is like, he's really good at what he does. Like, he's a great voiceover artist, so you don't really get any better than Tom Kenny. So I felt like that was kind of one of the things that kind of leads to this being overachieving, is that Tom Kenny is very funny. He gets the most of all these lines, out of all these crazy ideas. Obviously, Al gets the most out of everything. And even like Zlatan and Megan Rapinoe. Like, I thought, they've got a pretty good sense of humor about themselves. Although at the same time, it's kind of like Space Jam, where they're like, we're going to make fun of this famous athlete by talking about how successful and brilliant and accomplished they are.
Yep.
It's like, that's not really making fun of them. you know? But Meg Rapinoe has a dog that has a purple mohawk.
Just like yes, like she does it because your dog's hair has to match your own hair. That's how
Oh, yeah.
you know it's your dog.
Well, and I love the skillful coincidence that they're like, we're kids and we love soccer and we love being exterminators and we're really good exterminators. They're like, oh, well, that's good because there's a slug from outer space that needs to be exterminated.
Yep.
He's like a monster. You're some sort of monster squad. They're like a ghost. You're a ghost busting. Some very, very similar dynamics at play as and particularly like the last Ghostbusters movie where like they're all kids.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then one of them, and again, like I love how poorly delineated they are. The two things that I remember, one of them has a whoopee cushion.
Yes.
And the other really wants to take a selfie with Megan Rapinoe. And I think they might be the same person.
It's the same person.
So it doesn't seem fair that you have 4 people and only one of them has
One is vaguely
any
British.
kind of a personality. That is true, yeah. And one is like a goalie.
One is like a goalie due to the fact, one is goalie, and then one has really, really short legs.
Yeah.
But that's about it.
That's the fan favorite.
That is because he's got to walk a lot faster than the rest of them on account of those little tiny legs. So then Weird Al steals all of this talent. The ponytail gains sentience and realizes like, oh, I have all this talent now, which I think one of my favorite parts of the movie, and I is when the ponytail gained sentience. That was a part where I stopped it a couple of times too. I was like, okay, what the hell is happening right now? And my brother actually put this on with his almost 4-year-old daughter recently because she loves Weird Al. She's very into I Love Rocky Road right now. She loves that song. And I got a video of her in the car the other day, just like singing along to it. And like, she was very adamant. She goes, you can stop recording me when it's done. I'm like, all right, great. She's fabulous. So he put this movie on because Weird Al was in it. And then my brother texts me and he goes, when you told me Weird Al was the villain, I didn't think you meant that Weird Al was the villain. I thought you meant he just voiced the villain. I was like, oh no, Weird Al is the villain in this movie. And then about
it's Dr. Mayer Weird Al.
Dr. Mayer Weird Al.
Don't disrespect him. And it's amazing that he was in this, considering that he passed away 37 years ago.
Right.
But he popped right up, which is very, very impressive.
Yeah, it's on those space slugs. They'll do whatever. About 10-15 minutes later, I get another text message from my brother with a quote from my niece. Bad Weird Al cut off the orange guy's ponytail. And I'm like, okay, the orange. I was like, why'd you call him the orange guy? They're all green, but he was wearing an orange shirt. So that's why I was like, okay, that tracks. But the part that I liked the most about that quote from an almost 4-year-old was, she didn't say Weird Al cut off the ponytail. It was bad Weird Al, because she knows, even in her almost 4-year-old brain, that Weird Al is inherently good. So
that's true.
She separated the characters.
Well, and I love too that there is a moment in this motion picture in which the sentient talking ponytail voiced by Tom Kenny, who turns out to be an evil giant monster from outer space, possibly not from outer space, kicks a football into Weird Al's crotch.
Yeah.
And I'm like, again, I just feel like I'd love to imagine Weird Al reading the screenplay for the first time. Be like, and you want me to play myself? And I'm the world's top scientist and I control all these slug monsters? Why not?
Why not?
That's my opinion for a lot of things, like, why the hell not? And I feel like this is definitely one of those why not projects for Weird Al. Yeah, it seems like probably not a huge amount of work for this.
Mm-hmm.
I like to think that doing a voiceover is pretty easy and pretty fun, and you get paid very handsomely for not a lot of work, and you can do it in your pajamas, while drinking a Mai Tai.
Yeah, why not? I'm here for any work that you can do in your pajamas while drinking a Mai Tai. That's why I podcast, by the way, because I am literally in my pajamas drinking a beer. So I feel like that's as close as I'm gonna get until somebody discovers me from my podcast for my funny tones.
It's gonna be the next serial.
That's it, right? Yeah.
Just need more death. You need more true crime, more murders.
There's there's gotta be a market for a goofy voice doing goofy things in a lighthearted sort of way. I would be more than happy to do voiceovers for like kids stuff.
That
But
could totally work. But one of the things that, again, that kind of fascinated me about this movie is Al is very ageless. You know,
yes,
he looks great, and the whole time I've known him, he hasn't gotten any older.
how
But
does he do it?
He seems to be about 30 years old in
Yeah.
this motion picture, though. He has this face completely devoid of. I mean, part of that's just the CGI thing and the character design. But I was also kind of mesmerized by his hair.
Yeah, that was weird hair.
Yeah, he's got like this
Like, it was,
lush,
like,
luxurious
one-
helmet, sort of.
Yeah,
You
it was
know,
just like very solid, wavy but solid.
yeah, and like you said, like those weird shoes, and he's like very pointy. You know,
Villains are pointy, and I get that.
That is true.
I mean, I was like, because yeah, the very skinny legs, broad shoulders. I was like, okay, I've been in the presence of Weird Al several times now. His shoulders are nowhere near that broad, and his legs are nowhere near that skinny.
Well, he's also not a Green Mutant. And
That's
at a certain
also true.
point, and it's a testament to like how weird this movie is that I saw it once, so I could write about it and I could do it for this podcast, and then I had it on the background, because I was like copy editing one of my pieces, and it's such a weird movie that you can just kind of like glance over and be like, oh yeah, this is fucking nuts.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, there's that giant monster that like shows up at the end, and there's all these like. Yeah, again, I feel like nothing in this movie was cut for being too crazy, which I very much appreciated.
Yeah. I got to a certain point when they were at that like final like culminating soccer match where if this was a movie, this would be the climax of the movie.
It's a very meta movie. I think that's kind of one of the things that kind of feels Weird Al about it, and definitely Weird Al's performances. He's always calling attention to the cliches and the conventions of, and it's funny. Roger Ebert, Blair with My First Book is kind of a hero of mine, but he did not understand Weird Al Yankovic. He did not understand UHF. He was very angry about that. But he had this great movie glossary, and one of them was the fallacy of the talking killer. And the fallacy, I guess James Bond would be the ideal thing of that, of you have the bad guy, and rather than just do his evil scheme and be effective and efficient and save time, he's like, Mr. Bond, here's what I'm going to do. Here's my plan. Here are the different parts of it. It's a good thing you'll never get away and stop my plan. I'm just going to keep on going. And they really play that up to a parodic extreme. There's a scene where he's calling Rob Stone, portraying the role of Rob Stone, and just explaining like, I'm the bad guy, and these are the things that I'm going to do. And he's like, wait, is Caller X the bad guy? He's like, of course I'm the bad guy. And one of the things that I loved about it too is that there are certain Weird Al intonations. There's certain speech patterns that he has, and it was really fun to see them do that with a voice modulator. So even though he was talking in this villain robot voice, you could still sense the Weird Al aspect of it. You could still get the rhythms. And I thought that was fun. Again, I felt like, obviously we would not be talking about this if they did not have the crazy idea of casting Weird Al Yankovic as the bad guy, and also casting him as himself, and also making him a mayor and a scientist and the world's biggest soccer super fan, and also somebody who desperately wants to be a superstar soccer player and is willing to like destroy people and create monsters in order to do that.
Yeah. And the whole thing is just nuts. And like I said, like once they got to that culminating soccer match at the end, I was ready for it to be way longer than it was at that point, because I was like, just throw all of this weird at me, because a couple of scenes before that, it was when I started kind of coming around and being like, oh, this is fabulously weird. Like, this is exactly the kind of thing that like I will probably put this on as like you said, like a background kind of comfort movie at this point, because it's just so goofy. As when he has Zlatan in his office and he has to leave and he goes, grappling accordion, and he like busts out the room with that. I was like, okay, that was great. That was my first belly laugh of it. And then after Zlatan's power has been, his talent has all been taken out of him and is now in his sentient ponytail, he's sitting there on the curb and the kids are asking him, "Oh, what happened?" And he goes, "It's a tale as old as time. Weird Al stole my talent." It's just like that little tiny bit right there. Tale as old as time. Weird Al stole my talent. I'm like, first of all, how is that a tale as old as time? I think that's great. It's so stupid and so weird. But after that, I felt that they tried to do that thing that movies like this do, where it's like, your talent can't just be taken away from you. And the kids were like, well, you're just going to have to grow some more talent. And then it did that trope that these kids movies like do all the time. It's like, yeah, come on, like, you can get it back. Like, believe in yourself. You can do the thing. And so they do the little montage with that Karate Kid song. And it's like, okay, I get why they're doing this. Okay, this is all happening. And then it gets really fucking weird again. I was like, because they lulled me into a false sense of security with that montage. I was like, okay, he's just going to get good at soccer again. Everything's going to be fine. And then the ponytail becomes this weird, like, scorpion monster out of like a Lovecraft story. I'm like, okay, this is terrifying. Like,
Well, and I also love the fact that Weird Al Yankovic, his team, where, like, there are no other human beings on his team. It's literally, and again, like, what are the rules of the soccer league, where they have one big game and you have 24 hours, and apparently anybody can play. And this includes, because again, I just want to like, I want to see the rule book for the soccer league. You talk about the nothing in the rule book for the movie Gus, where they say, yeah, there's nothing in the rule book that says that a donkey can't kick field goals. I guess there similarly is nothing in the rule book that says that a popular song parodist, probably the most famous accordionist with an extremely limited field, that he cannot take to the field with a series of sentient giant brain slugs who are also very good at. But they're just like, how.
Are there flubber at that point?
How did the slugs get good at soccer?
Oh, well,
I think I found the one plot hole in this movie. Because
the only plot hole
that broke the reality for me.
Yeah.
I'm like, I liked this movie because it was realistic. There was a lot of verisimilitude. I felt like this was a very accurate depiction of the sporting world. But yeah, then I got to like, wait, why are the slugs so good at soccer? And then Weird Al turns into the Incredible Hulk at some point. But then it's nice too because he does a face turn at the very end, and yeah, my son, he kind of wandered in at the very end of it. And he's like, "Is Weird Al going to die inside the giant monster's belly?" And I'm like, probably not. That would be a weird ending, even for a movie this weird. And then, yeah, sure enough,
he died. So
he's vomited up by this giant slug monster that steals all of the space. So yeah, I thought that was interesting, and I liked at the end that he was friends with the children, and everybody was on the same side again. And then 25 years from now, there will be the soccer football movie, A New Legacy. When whoever the big soccer star of that point is.
Oh my god, who would be the villain then? I guess the world may never know.
They might be giants.
Oh my god! And they're actually giants.
I like that idea. Yeah. 25 years from now.
Okay, that's the way to do it. Sign me up. We said it here today.
They'll
right
be
here.
In their 70s. But yeah, we're pitching to see because the buzz for this movie is pretty insane. I mean that's like true. I feel like this is a movie that like even Weird Al fans aren't cognizant that it exists.
No, I mean, as well as I do, and I'm just going to call it out. The Close Personal Friends of Al Facebook group, everybody seemed surprised by this. Because I still see, at least one post like every other day. Did you know that Weird Al was in this other movie on Netflix? I was like, first of all, Weird Al tweeted it that day. So yes, I knew. and I'm like, catch up. But secondly, I'm like, that the timing couldn't have been an accident.
Yeah. So I think part of it is it was able to sort of piggyback on the extraordinary popularity of Weird the Al Yankovic story, because I'm gonna have a Roku box like a lot of people do, and every time it boots up, it says, "Hey, do you want to watch Weird the Al Yankovic story?" And I've seen it 3 times at this point. But I'm glad. I'm glad that it's literally prodding everybody in the world, saying, "Hey, do you want to watch this
Yeah.
crazy movie? You can watch it for free. You can watch it right now. Everybody likes it." So I don't think it's a coincidence that they're pushing it really hard, and it's, kind of their first big movie. And it's getting all this great buzz and all this great press. And yeah, this is getting no great buzz and no great press. And I think it has a 0 on Rotten Tomatoes.
It does. And actually,
Yeah.
I looked it up
Yeah.
on IMDb earlier today.
Yeah.
Did you read the reviews of this on IMDb?
I did not, no.
I have to. This gives me an opportunity to hit my button. Hold on.
Wait a minute. I'll go check.
Okay, because these reviews are fantastic. People hate this so much. Let's see. My favorite one is the movie. The soccer football movie is the worst movie ever. It was so inappropriate, cruel, and scary. Once I saw the movie was mutant slugs that control people, becoming monsters and steal their talents, making Weird Al the bad guy, and a ponytail hair came to life, absorb all slugs, and turn into an ugly giant monster with its eye and tentacles in its big mouth. There's also 4 young kids that fight monsters living in a broken down van. Please do not watch that movie. I'm warning anyone, everywhere, anything, and everything.
Now I want a prequel about these weird freaking kids. I have no idea how old they are. They have a very successful exterminating business.
Apparently.
And I don't think you can be 14 years old. I think labor laws would dictate that you got to be at least in your 20s. But again, they've got like this weird strangers things.
Yeah, they're scrappy.
Kids going on,
they're
and
doing the whole thing. Because I'm gonna read a snippet from one other one because people hate this so much.
Oh yeah.
4 young soccer superfans team up to help their idols regain their abilities after a scheming evil scientist steals their talent. This movie should have been called How to Make a Football Version of Space Jam and Die Terribly and Tragically in the Process, taking 2 icons of the sport with you to the grave. Do not see before, during, or after eating, or at any other time.
I do not think Zlatan is dead. I think Zlatan returned from the grave.
So funny.
Zlatan. Oh, boy.
Yeah. So, it is what it is. I think, I mean, it's one of those things that for me, this is the perfect level of weird. And I guess that people who are used to children's quote unquote children's entertainment coming out now, everything that comes out now for kids feels very like saccharine and almost devoid of any personality. But I mean, being a kid in like the 80s and 90s as I was, like, there was weird stuff in kids' entertainment that was like gross and funny and like borderline not appropriate for kids. But guess what? That's kind of what the world is. And this leans into that in for me, this is like a modern take on like kids' entertainment from, 35 plus years ago that is just so weird that it works.
Yeah, well, it kind of reminds me of there was this kind of very small subgenre of cartoons with real life athletes as kind of superheroes. And I think kind of the main one was a show called Pro Star.
Yeah, okay.
And it starred Bo Jackson, Michael Jordan, and Wayne Gretzky. And it's one of the things, too, where it's like Michael Jordan's like, I'm never going to watch this. I'm not going to write a goddamn line. You're going to write me a check for $75,000 and I will forget this ever happened. So yeah, you had like, all of these voice actors playing Michael Jordan. So yeah, it's kind of that whole element I found, an element of cheese, an element of camp, sort of the overlapping worlds of superheroes and secret agents and athletes. Because again, there's kind of this idea that they're sort of superheroes.
Yeah.
And they're kind of like Incredible Hulk, who is a monster and a superhero at the same time.
Yeah.
And like I said before, like the man who directed this was an animator on Space Jam, shockingly. And then he worked extensively in Marvel movies about the Incredible Hulk. So he didn't have to use a lot of imagination. He's just like, what did I do before? It worked then. It will work now. I feel like the ideal way to experience this movie would be there's a midnight double feature of Weird, the Al Yankovic story. It debuts at midnight. Hopefully Al is there. That would be great. There'd be like a Q&A. And then this would be the second feature that would go on at 2:00. And most people would have left by that point. And the people who are there are like really tired or they're really stoned. And they're kind of like, what the hell is this crap? But it's only 73 minutes, so I might as well stay. Because yeah, I kind of feel like if you don't know anything about this movie, that's kind of the best way to experience it because it's just bonkers.
It's bonkers. And yeah. And that's why I very smartly, all I did with my brother was tell him Weird Al voices the villain in this movie and left him to his own devices to watch it. I told him nothing else. And other than that, like we were sitting here watching it, like this is the weirdest thing I've ever seen and I'm not mad about it. Like at all.
Well, and I think part of the reason why I enjoyed this more than Space Jam is because Space Jam does the earnest, let's make you care about this, and like Michael Jordan, blah, 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 and the kid, and blah. And like this has no sentimentality
none.
whatsoever.
None.
There's no emotion, there's no like soft moments. They're just like, this is just going to be silly and silly and silly, and then it's over.
Yeah. The closest
and I appreciated that.
For sure. I appreciate that. Like the closest this for me got to a soft moment was when after the ponytail is cut off, after the talent is gone, he's like, I have no talent. I have no ponytail. Like there's nothing left. And like you kind of feel that it's like, oh, this guy really defined himself by his soccer talent and his ponytail. And like, I get that in athletes where they're like, no, I have this like very distinguishing like physical feature and this thing that I can do. And if you take those two things away, like what are you?
Oh yeah, totally. Well, and it's again the measure of like what an icon he is. That the biological movie that they made about him, apparently like he had this very like hard scrabble upbringing, and he like overcame incredible obstacles, and he's this sort of incredibly cocky, confident person, and that to me is and like now should I ever encounter Vladan again, which I might because he's like a huge soccer star, I will think of him in the same way, that Chappie is a very weird movie that I'm obsessed with, that, the Antwoord, who are horrible human beings, but I will always know them as the people who were Chappie's mom and dad. And I consequently will also always know Vladan because of this movie, and Megan Rapinoe, who again, is probably the most famous American soccer star of all time.
Sure, yeah.
I feel like it's set the bar very, very low. But yeah, I love that they went for it and that they were, willing to spoof themselves and obviously had a very good sense of humor about themselves and were willing to do very, very silly things for a very, very silly movie.
I think I like that trend of things, and I hope that more people who take themselves and what they do seriously are more willing to lean into the silly of it, because it's one of the things, and I think that might be why Weird Al being in this movie makes sense, is because as well as I do, even better because you wrote the freaking book on it, but Weird Al takes things seriously. And he works very hard at what he does, but he doesn't take himself super seriously. And I think that's something admirable. Like he was willing to be the villain in this movie. He's willing to look goofy and do goofy things and just say like, this is what I am and what I have, but like I'm really good at this stuff that I do. But
Oh
at the
yeah,
same
well,
time, I don't have to put on airs to like seem like I'm better.
and it's not, there's this obviously, there's this craft to it, like
Mm-hmm.
he's not phoning it in, he's not being lazy, he's not sleepwalking, he's giving every single line the most that he can. And he's
Mm-hmm.
making every line as funny and as weird. So yeah, he really finds a way to stamp his personality on this. Uh, Again, just in part just because it is such a weird movie.
Yeah.
And it goes to so many crazy places. But yeah, I'm glad that I experienced it because I kind of feel like this is an opportunity to combine two of my favorite things, which is Weird Al Yankovic and talking about crazy movies that nobody has seen. And if they found out about it, they'd be like my wife wandered in, she's like, "This looks bad. You only like it because Weird Al is in it." And I'm like, "Well, if you only see like 1 minute, and there's a sentient ponytail that is running amok and trying to conquer the world of American soccer, then it might not seem to make a whole lot of sense. But if you watch the whole thing, it still doesn't make any sense,
But that
but
isn't
is a lot more
bad.
entertaining.
Yeah, like I had a similar thing with that. I started watching this the day, I think it was the day it came out, because like my boyfriend Russ was recording his podcast in this room, and I was sitting out in the living room by myself, and I was like, oh, I'm just gonna put this movie on, and I, then something happened, and like the recording got done early, and I was like, oh, and so I stopped the movie, and I was like, oh, we could put something else on, and he was like, oh no, get me up to speed with where things are so that we can be watching this. So it was very easy to get him up to speed because it was just like, okay, like weird thing, weird thing, weird thing, weird thing. Now we're here. And we finished watching it, and then we're both like mesmerized by how weird this is. Like we had like did that cartoon thing where we looked at each other like, what did we just see?
Yeah. Well,
It was
and again,
great.
there's so many layers upon layers. The fact that like the big game is Weird Al, a mutated green version of Weird Al who's stolen everybody's talent, but is about to see the error of his ways, versus Zlatan, Megan Rapinoe, and then 4 children who like playing soccer. And I guess because there were like those other soccer stars, and again that reminds me of Space Jam, where they who was popular in 1996. You have people like Muggsy Bogues,
Yeah.
and Sean Edwards, who were like very successful. I think it was Sean Edwards, some dorky ass white guy, was in Space Jam. And now you say like, who is? Oh yeah, that space dorky ass white guy had like one good year, and this was him in that. And like Charles Barkley, and I thought that was kind of interesting that like all of these soccer stars who are huge in Europe, who are huge to soccer players. I have no friggin' idea who you are. The only person that I recognized was Meg Rapinoe, and that's because she is an American celebrity.
Yeah.
And she's an American soccer
I
star.
think, and they definitely gave a nod to that when the Whoopee Cushion kids have all these soccer stars in the locker room, and they're going to do the test to see who's a mutant and who's a slug and who's not. And the first one gets up to the counter, and the one little kid is like, "Okay, good point, soccer player number 2." And like, it wasn't an actual name, and I thought like, okay, that was really clever. And I think I'd be remiss if I didn't say the one part about that whole particular part of the movie that I absolutely loved was the other 2 soccer players are there with the headphones on listening to the music when the one becomes a slug and this whole ruckus is happening, but all you're hearing is this soothing music while all the ruckus is happening. I thought that was a brilliant way to cut that scene because like the juxtaposition of what you're seeing with this violent like slug mutant soccer player happening with this like very tranquil
Oh yeah, and I feel like that's kind of an homage. I feel like there have definitely been scenes like that.
Oh,
They were
yeah.
kind of paying tribute to. And then another thing that I enjoyed, about just because I see a lot of weird fucking, a lot of weird children's films for various reasons, was that this is a children's soccer movie with Weird Al that features an homage to Fight Club.
Yeah.
And it's the second children's film I've seen on Netflix in like the last 3 months that has an homage to Fight Club, because in the movie The Queen's Corgi,
Oh God,
which is another 0-star on Rotten Tomatoes thing. Like the Queen's Corgi runs away to avoid being sexually assaulted by Donald Trump's dog.
really?
again, that is the plot of this movie. Is it runs away so that it's not sexually assaulted, and and his dog is a female. So the idea is like, oh, it's not rape if it's a female dog forcing herself on this male
gotta
dog.
watch this movie.
Yeah, and so he like runs away, and he ends up literally in like a prison. He ends up in like a prison where they have a fight club, and they're like the first rule of Bark Club is there is no Bark Club, and I'm like, again, like this is so wrong, and why is this a movie for children? And again, like somebody was very proud they got their Fight Club homage in there, but it doesn't belong in a children's movie, and it doesn't belong in a series of children's movies. But again, there were just moments that I like at the beginning where Rob Stone is talking about Vlatan, and Vlatan is like, "Hey, what did you say about me?" And he's like, "Wait, I'm 1,000 feet away from you. How did you even hear me?" But yeah, so Rob Stone, again, I just felt like everybody had the right state of mind, the right sensibility. Everybody was very willing to make fun of themselves and be very, very goofy in a singularly ridiculous motion picture.
Yes. That's. I think that we couldn't cap this conversation off any better than that. Like, because yes,
we're not quite as long as the film itself, but we're in the same ballpark.
We're close. We're close.
We're in the same soccer arena.
We are. Yeah, I like that. We're like the slugs in the soccer arena where we're not sure if we belong here. We're not sure how we know what it is we're doing with the thing that we're doing, but we know.
But we just have to do Weird Al's will.
That's it. That's it. We're just bending to Weird Al's will. So, Nathan, thank you for being back on the show again.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure. I had a delightful time. Yeah. I like to feel like I'm the Tony Randall of the Beard L podcast. So.
I love it. Oh, and I'm going to put links to all of your stuff in the episode description here. So if you're too lazy to Google it, just click buttons. And I would be remiss if I didn't say, because if you are listening to this episode the day that it comes out, it is November 27th, and today is your last day to send me your Weird Al karaoke clips to actually win a signed copy by this gentleman right here of the Weird Coloring to Al, the ridiculously cash-in whatever edition, because he wrote that title in his
Cynical Movie Cash-in Extended Edition.
That would be the one of the coloring book, the Weird Coloring to Al. All you gotta do is email me, DM me on Twitter, Instagram, whatever. Get at me today. Again, if you're listening to this on November 27th, 2022. Otherwise, sorry, you're SOL. But yeah, we got some coloring books to give away, and send me your Weird Al karaoke. It's mostly for my own personal enjoyment, because I like hearing the renditions. As of us recording this, I have gotten a couple, and
that's awesome.
I was very pleased with everything going on here. So anyhow,
I've actually had I'm not terribly surprised. I've had Now You Know going through my head, and I feel like it's one of those songs that really kind of it grows on you.
It does.
And there's just certain lyrics that I just keep thinking about over and over again.
Yeah,
like the one about well, again, it's weird that a theme song for a movie can have so many spoilers.
Yeah, I had to tell people, like, don't listen to Now You Know before you watch Weird Al Yankovic.
There's a reason why it comes at the end of the movie and not at the beginning.
There's definitely a reason for that. And one of my buddies messaged me. He's like, "Damn it!" I'm like, "What?" He goes, "I listened to the new Weird Al song," and I was like, "Oh, you didn't watch the movie first?" He's like, "Nope," and I'm like, "You done screwed up, friend."
Well, I love too that in the song itself, Al cops to being surprised by A, the things that happen in the movie, and B, the things that happen in his ostensible real life.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is just a wonderful, wonderful meta gag, and there are so many in that movie, which I will say right here is a better motion picture and a more artfully constructed motion picture than the soccer football movie.
Oh, absolutely, without a doubt, 100%. Yes, I agree. I love that I got to watch them both basically in the same week. Yeah. And I got to enjoy all of this fresh new Weird Al content at the same time. And I kind of love that one is the yin to the other's yang. And I don't feel like this month of November 2022 would be as complete as it was without having
Yeah.
both of these things at the same time to appreciate.
Well, I feel like one has a shot, albeit an outside shot, of getting nominated for an Academy Award. The other one does not.
Yeah, the soccer football movie's gonna sweep it.
Yeah, I don't even think they're gonna. Yeah, I don't think they're going to. To have that for your consideration screeners out to everybody.
It's great. Oh
that would be the upside of life. They're like, screw you, Pixar.
Yeah, right? Look at this soccer football movie. Yeah, look at that. Oh my God. Okay. We could go on about this forever, but I'm going to put a pin in this episode and wish everybody, good luck at work tomorrow if that's where you're going, because your big long weekend is over.
Watch out for the brain slugs.
And watch out for the brain slugs. And with that, this has been a bonus episode, very bonus episode of the Beard Out Podcast. And I'm Lauren, and Nathan, thank you again for being here. Yay.
My pleasure.
And we're going to be back at you Friday with some kind of cool episode. Oh, yeah. You're going to like it.
Sorry, we got a 1. We got a pencil again.
Yay.